Sairam students, hope you all are doing well. Let's begin with the second session of political science, chapter number 2, that is understanding secularism. Let's before starting with the today's topic, let us just have a quick recap of what we have learned in our last session, right? I think you all remember we have done what is secularism in that and why is it important to separate religion from the state, right? Yeah. See, in that, what is secularism? What did we see? All forms of domination that is related to religion should end, right? This was the essence of secularism. Then we saw some examples from history that was based on discrimination, exclusion, and persecution. Correct? Then we saw India adopted a strategy of separating the power of religion and the power of state. That is, secularism refers to this separation only, that is, the separation of religion from the state, right? Then we saw why it is important to separate religion from the state. This is important for a country to function democratically, right? The first reason was tyranny of the majority and the violation of the fundamental rights, right? Then the next one was to protect the freedom of individuals to exit from their religion, embrace another religion, or have the freedom to interpret religious teachings differently, right? This is what we have learnt in that last session. Now, why can't the religion that is practiced by the majority be the official religion of India? We have many religions as India is a secular state, right? In India, we can't have one official religion as a religion is separated from state power. The state cannot enforce any official religion. That is what we have learned, that is secularism, right? Now, what is Indian secularism? The Indian constitution mandates that the Indian state be secular. Now here children, I have given you an example of religious tolerance. Drawing is given here, that is there in your textbook also. This drawing shows you the religious tolerance. What is that religious tolerance? Religious tolerance is that people allowing other people to think or practice other religions and beliefs. It means you can see all Hindu, Muslim and all the children of other each and every community, they are together, they are joining their hands. We can see in the drawing given here, right? Then now comes to, there are some objectives of a secular state. Let's go through that objectives of a secular state. One religious community does not dominate another. Then the second is some members do not dominate other members of the same religious community. Then the next is the state does not enforce any particular religion nor take away the religious freedoms of individuals. But to achieve this objectives, the Indian state works in various ways to prevent this domination that is based on the religious. Now, the Indian state has to frame some strategies to avoid this, to prevent the domination that has been shown in the objectives. Now let us go through the strategies that the Indian state has made. The first one here is distancing itself from one religion. Then the next is non-interference. Then the next is intervention. Now all these strategies, we are going to learn each and every strategy in detail with some examples. Let's begin with the first one, that is distancing itself from one religion. That is the first strategy followed by the Indian state, right? The Indian state is not ruled by a religious group and nor does it support any one religion, right? See, in India, government spaces like, you can see the images has been given here in the slide here. This images shows you the law court, the police station, the government school and offices that are not supposed to display and promote any one religion. That means the Indian state is not ruled by a religious group and nor does it support any one religion. Here students, I have given you an example that is there in your textbook. Let's go through that. Here, the picture of the government high school is given here. Okay, in that government school, the students want to celebrate a religious festival. So what that students are asking this, sir? So there is a big religion festival next month. We have never celebrated it in school. Can we do it this year? So now the sir is thinking about it, and let's see what the sir is answering them. I am afraid that isn't possible. One of the child named Rekha, she asked that to the sir, okay? This is a government school. We cannot give importance to any one religion. Private schools may do that. Government schools don't celebrate any religious festivals in the school premises. Most religious festivals are a public holiday so that we can celebrate these at home. I hope children you understood what the sir is replying here. Then the sir, what the children they are thinking. I never thought of it this way. I guess we can always celebrate it outside school. So this is what the girl that Rekha. Anyway, we were planning to celebrate in our locality. I think you understood what I want to tell you from this example. This example shows you that the government has schools cannot celebrate any religious festivals in their school. Now, the celebration of the religious festival within the school would have been a violation of the government's policy of treating all religions equally, right? Because that has been given in the Constitution of India, all religions are equal, right? Then the government school cannot do that way, cannot celebrate any religious festival in their school premises. I have shown you some examples here of the festivals in the slide there. But whereas this rule does not apply to the private school, right? Government schools cannot promote any one religion either in their morning prayers also. Even in the morning prayers, government schools cannot do the prayer of any one religion. Even through religious celebrations also, they cannot dominate any one religion or they cannot support any one religion, right? But this rule does not apply to private schools because private schools follow their own policies. So children, I hope you understood that first strategy, distancing from one religion, very well after going through that example, right? Now next strategy that the Indian state is following is non-interference. Non-interference, this means that in order to respect the sentiments, what is the meaning of sentiments? Opinion, thought or idea based on the feeling. Like to respect the feelings of all religions and not interfere with religious practices. The state makes certain exceptions for particular religious communities. Now, to understand this, how the state makes certain exceptions for some religious communities, for particular religious communities, let's go through one example here. Here I have given you an example that is there in your textbook again. To understand the non-interference, let's go through that. A group of friends who have recently bought scooters are meeting to go for a ride together, right? You can see the two friends are shown here, right? Now the first one with a helmet, look at them. Hey, I hope you have a helmet. You know the law in Delhi requires that you wear one. Why aren't you wearing a helmet? Do you want to be fined? This is what he is asking to his friend. Don't worry, I will not be fined. Now again the next. Hey Paramjit, why won't you be fined? He's asking him the reason. Normally it is a rule. If one doesn't wear the helmet, the person is fined, right? But what that Paramjit is answering? For Sikhs, wearing a pagri is very important part of our religion. The government cannot force me to wear a helmet. This is what the conversation you have seen between the two friends, right? Now from that what we can understand that this is because the Indian state recognizes that wearing a pagri or turban is central to a Sikh's religious practice, right? And in order not to interfere with this, allows an exception in the law. Then I hope you understood the meaning of exception in this. It means they are allowed not to wear helmet because they already have pagri. About that pagri, they cannot wear the helmet, okay? I hope you understood non-interference, the meaning of non-interference after going through the example. Now there is a third policy that is followed by the Indian state, which is intervention. Now, intervention here, I have given you the good example here. You remember we have already learnt about the untouchability in that previous chapter also, right? So, this is a good example where members of the same religion, that is upper caste Hindus, dominate other members, that is some lower caste within it. In this instance, what we can understand, the state is intervening in religion in order to end a social practice that it believes discriminates and excludes and that violates the fundamental rights of lower caste who are citizens of this country. Similarly, to ensure that laws relating to equal inheritance rights are respected, the state may have to intervene in the religious based personal laws of communities, right? So the intervention of the state can also be in the form of support. It is not always against, it is in the form of support also. The Indian Constitution grants the right to religious communities to set up their own schools and colleges. Like the Muslim, here I have given you one image here. The Muslim community is allowed to set up madrasas in India. It also gives them financial aid. Financial aid means it gives them the financial support. So now children, moving to the next topic, that is, in what way is Indian secularism different from that of other democratic countries? Here we will see the comparison of India and USA, that is United States of America. Now, we have seen some of the objectives of a secular state, right? Some of the objectives are similar to those that have been included in the constitution of secular democratic countries in other parts of the world here. Like for example, the first amendment to the US was regarding giving citizens the freedom of religion, press, speech, assembly and petition. Constitution prohibits the legislature from making laws, that is respecting an establishment of religion, or that prohibits the free exercise of religion, whereby not declaring any religion as official religion. It means none of the country can give any religion as the official religion, because what will happen if they will declare one religion as the official religion? Means again that country will not be the secular one, that will not follow the objectives of secularism. Now children, go through the images that has been given in this slide. Now what you can understand from this, in USA, that is United States of America, has separation between the state and religion, means that neither the state nor religion can interfere in the affairs of one another. There is one significant way in which Indian secularism differs from the dominant understanding of secularism as practiced in the United States of America. Now here we are going to see the difference between the two. This is because unlike the strict separation between religion and the state in American secularism, whereas in Indian secularism the state can intervene in religious affairs. So to understand that in a better way, that Indian secularism, the state can intervene in religious affairs, I'll give you an example here. You have read about how the Indian Constitution intervened in Hindu religious practices in order to abolish untouchability, right? Like this means in Indian secularism, students, though the state is not strictly separate from religion, it does maintain a principled distance with religion. This means that any interference in religion by the state has to be based on the ideals laid out in the Constitution of India. These ideals serve as the standard through which we can judge whether the state is or is not behaving according to the principles of secularism. The Indian state is secular and works in various ways to prevent this religious domination. The Indian constitution guarantees fundamental rights, right? You can see here rights such as right to freedom of religion, right to equality. All these are there included in the fundamental rights, right? So they are based on these rights are based on these secular principles. However, this is not to say that there is no violation of these rights in Indian society. Can we say that there is no violation of these rights? Indeed, it is precisely because such violation happen frequently that we need a constitutional mechanism to prevent them from happening. So, the knowledge that such rights exist makes us sensitive to their violations and enables us to take action when these violations takes place. Whenever any violation of human rights takes place, through that knowledge, a person has to take action against that violations. So children, here we have completed with the chapter. Now in this today's session we have learnt about what is Indian secularism, right? In that we have seen according to the constitution, a secular state can realize its objectives, right? Then we saw the objectives were that one religious community does not dominate another, right? Then the second objective we saw that some members do not dominate other members of the same religious community. Then the third, that the state does not enforce any particular religion nor take away the religious freedom of individuals, right? But the Indian state works in various ways to prevent this domination, the above given domination. The strategies that were followed by the Indian state was, the first one is the distancing itself from religion, right? Then the second one we saw non-interference, and the third one we saw intervention. We learned each and every strategy that were followed by the Indian state and with the examples, right? The second topic that we have learned is in what way is Indian secularism different from that of other democratic countries, right? In that we saw the comparison in between the US constitution as well as our India's constitution, correct? In that we have seen even the US legislature cannot declare any religion as the official religion, nor they can give preference to one religion, correct? But there is one significant way in which Indian secularism differs from the dominant understanding of secularism as practiced in the United States of America. That is, unlike the strict separation between religion and the state in American secularism, in Indian secularism, the state can intervene in religious affairs, right? This is what we have seen. Then the next point we have seen in this is the Indian state is secular and works in various ways to prevent religious domination, correct? The Indian constitution guarantees fundamental rights that are based on the secular principles, correct? Then the knowledge that such rights exist makes us sensitive to their violations. If someone sees that violations is taking place somewhere, has to take some action against that. This is what we have learned in this. So children, if you want to go through the textbook pages of this chapter, download the PDF file from the NCERT textbook link and go through the textbook. Now here the activity has been given to you. The first question is the list the different types of religious practices that you find in your neighborhood. You have to just list out all the religious practices that you have seen in your neighborhood area, okay? Then the second one, design your own poster on religious tolerance. Children, if you remember in the first slide itself, I showed you one drawing that has been made that was based on the religious tolerance, right? Similar to that, you will find still two more drawings are there in your textbook. So you have to design your own poster based on religious tolerance. I hope you have understood the meaning of that religious tolerance, right? So here we have completed with the chapter number 2 of political science, understanding secularism. As always, I tell you, after going through the video, complete the worksheet, submit it on the very same day. And as we have completed the whole chapter, write down all the important points in your book somewhere so that you can refer it in the future at any time, right? And after this, again, one reminder, activity also, if of the previous session is remaining, complete that activity also and just preserve it with you. After reopening, I'm going to collect it from you. So children, hope you have understood this chapter and see you in the next session with a new chapter. Till then, take care.